How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the podcast. Normally do it with my friend Dylan. Dylan actually got an interview with the Jacksonville Jaguars, so he's focusing on his interview this week. Wish Dylan the best of luck. Obviously, I hope he gets the gig. That would be very cool. So I have my good friend Nick V joining me today. Unfortunately, his camera's broken, but that's okay. Nick, coincidentally, is an Eagles fan. Unfortunately, uh, can't stand the Eagles, but I have to pull for them in the Super Bowl. So we are going to preview the Super Bowl. Obviously, get Chiefs, the obnoxious city Chiefs versus the Eagles. So we're gonna just freely kind of talk about the game, I think. So Nick, would you like to start your
Yeah.
initial thoughts on the Super Bowl?
Well, first, thank you for having me. I want to start out by saying the Chiefs, you know what I'm saying? They're going for the three-peat. They're chasing history. Andy Reid, I think, is three playoff wins behind Bill Belichick. Obviously, Sirianni and the Eagles are looking for their first Super Bowl under Coach Sirianni. Um, obviously, came up a little bit short last year. James Bradbury. Anyways, yeah, I think the Eagles have a lot more ways to win than the Chiefs do this year. I think that obviously Saquon Barkley has been almost unstoppable. He's 30 yards from breaking Terrell Davis's postseason and regular season rushing record, I think. Um, Jalen Hurts hasn't turned the ball over this postseason. I think he's 209 passes with no interception. Um, the Chiefs obviously have been able to force some turnovers with Spagnola's blitzes on the defense, his weird little blitzes. But I don't know. I think even if you load the box to stop Saquon Barkley, if you leave Devontae Smith and AJ Brown one on one, that's a recipe for disaster. I don't care who you have covering them. I mean, we saw what's his name, Trent McDuffie get mossed by freaking who's the guy from the Bills that used to play on the
Uh,
Raiders and the Eagles?
Matt Collins.
Matt Collins was mossing Trent McDuffie, so I can only imagine what AJ Brown's going to do on Sunday. But yeah, I'll let you kind of take over here.
Yeah, I agree with what you said about the Eagles having a lot more opportunities to not opportunities, but ways to win the game than the Chiefs do. Philly, on paper, the Eagles should win this game comfortably, but it's the Chiefs. So, regardless of which team wins, I think this is going to be a one-score game. But Philly is by far the better team. I wrote all these statistics down, like their rankings for offense, defense. I even went special teams rankings, all that stuff. Uh, Philly has better if like ranks higher in literally every category offensively except pass yards per game, but that's because I believe they attempted the least passes in the entire league because of Saquon in the run
Hmm.
game. Defensively, Philly is the top overall defense. Chiefs defense is up there. It's number nine. Took a bit of a dip from last year. It was ranked number two overall, I believe. But just offense, Philly one, KC nine. Or sorry, defense. Offense, Philly eight, KC 16. So that
Mm.
right there says mismatch on paper. And then special teams, it's very close. The Chiefs actually have the edge in some categories, like by slight margins, but I don't think it's enough to make up for the difference in offense and defense. Um, then another thing I have is Vic Fangio, obviously defensive coordinator for Philly. He is 0-8 against Mahomes, but that kind of comes with a side note because his quarterbacks were Tua twice. Not a big Tua guy myself. Drew Lock. I think we can all agree Drew Lock is not the guy. Joe Flacco when he was in 2019 the Broncos, and Teddy Bridgewater. And his offense scored 11.9 points per game. So that's usually a problem. If you score about 12 points a game, you're probably going to lose. But the thing is, Mahomes in those 8 games has didn't play a single, or sorry, Fangio's defense was like solid for all those games, but they were not top 10 in EPA defense. The Eagles are actually number one overall. And this is the worst Chiefs offense. Well, last year you can argue it was worse, but either this year or last year's Chiefs offense is worse than or their offenses when they played
Mm-hmm.
Fangio. Some stats here. So points per game, he scores about two less against Vic Fangio than everyone else, Mahomes, I mean, in the Chiefs offense. His completion percentage is down 3 points. His yards per drop back, it's very close, but it's about zero point 0.3 less against Fangio. His EPA per play takes a significant dip. It goes from 0.19 against everyone else to 0.07 against Fangio. Points per drive, 2.14 against 2.66 against everyone else. Red zone touchdown percentage plummets against everyone else, 63% against Fangio, it's 37%. His goal to go touchdown percentage also plummets, 38% against Fangio, 79% against everyone else. And his third down percentage takes a dip too, 38% against Fangio, 49% against everyone else. So basically, I don't mean to keep going on a rant here, but Philly just has a lot more ways to win this game than the Chiefs. I think they're the better overall team. They've looked better. I know record wise, the Chiefs finished one game better, but I think they had the single luckiest season in sports history. Half their wins, I think, came from pure luck. Um, yeah, better defense, better offense. Fangio has given Mahomes troubles. I just read all those stats, and this is by far the best defense Fangio has had, and this is without a doubt, I think, the worst offense, at least this year or last year, that Fangio has played against Mahomes. And then obviously you got Saquon and company. So Philly has a multitude of ways I think they can win the game.
Yeah, I agree. And to pick up on Fangio's defense, obviously he plays a lot of push everybody back, don't let them beat you behind. They kind of keep everything in front of them. But Kansas City this year, the majority of their passes have actually been behind or at the line of scrimmage. For not pushing the ball downfield. So the Eagles, against those kind of plays, they're averaging around 4 yards on those kind of passes. So I think we already kind of have a game plan set in place for how the Chiefs want to play offense. Um, Kareem Hunt obviously has been really good running the ball, but I just I don't see a world in where Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter, and Zach Bond just let Kareem Hunt run all over us. I think Isaiah Pacheco has been very inefficient since recovering from the whatever injury he came back from. I think that if the Chiefs want to win, they have to obviously not turn the ball over. Eagles have been turning the ball over like crazy all playoffs, and they have to find a way to, I don't know. Well, I mean, they'll have to get Kelsey involved. Ertz had a big day last week. I think he had over 100 yards. So if the Eagles don't kind of fix their defense, it's going to be a lot of Cooper DeJean on Travis Kelsey, I'm sure. But that might be a key to win for the Chiefs on Sunday.
Yeah, you mentioned the turnovers. The Chiefs have forced zero. They've only played two postseason games. They had the first round bye, but they have forced zero turnovers. And then they had a fumble with Mid Holmes bobbling
Mm-hmm.
the ball against. Well, actually, he turned it over twice, but what a surprise! One gets overturned via referee stoppage. Even it was the correct call, but not surprised at all. Philly, they haven't turned the ball over, and they played an extra game. They didn't get the bye, so they played three postseason games. They have not turned it over, and they forced six fumbles and four picks, so 10 turnovers in three postseason games. So that's like you just said, obviously, any game in general, you're going to want to limit the turnovers. Ideally, not turn over at all if you want to win, but especially a game like this. And it seems like a lot of those turnovers the Eagles forced were kind of momentum ones too. Like the
Mm-hmm.
Commanders last week, anytime felt like the Commanders were getting momentum, they would fumble it, and then Philly would get momentum. The Packers game, they got a couple fumbles that swayed the momentum, and against the Rams too, they got Kyron Williams fumbled. Looks like the Rams were maybe able to drive down, take the lead, put pressure on Philly, and they forced a fumble. So, um, yeah, turnovers again key to every game, but I think especially a game like this.
Mhm.
Then obviously these teams, this is a rematch. 2 years ago they played in the Super Bowl. Uh, this defense is much better. Well, actually, I think they had the fourth ranked defense last year or 2 years ago in the Super Bowl that year. But this year, their defense, I think, is in a far better spot to stop Mahomes. Again, I just mentioned all those numbers dropping off with Vic Fangio playing against Mahomes or Bull calling the game against Mahomes compared to everyone else. He's got the number one overall ranked defense. And the Chiefs offense 2 years ago was the top scoring offense. I think they were the top ranked offense in the entire league. So Philly, pretty much a very similar team to how they were 2 years ago when they made the Super Bowl. Kansas City, I think, has declined, even though they made the Super Bowl both the years since then. Their defense is better, but their offense is significantly worse. It went from number one to number 16.
Mhm.
So I think that could play a factor. I just, on paper and like just, in theory, the Eagles really should win this game, but it's the Chiefs. I do think the Chiefs have the coaching advantage. I still don't like Sirianni. I think he's gotten completely carried by his coordinators. Andy Reid, I think, will run laps around Sirianni over and over again. But Kellen Moore, I think, is kind of even with Shane Steichen, who was the offense coordinator 2 years ago. I think Philly could put up a good amount of points. I think the Chiefs defense is going to be able to slow the Philly offense down. It's going to be able to stop Saquon. Well, not stop Saquon, slow Saquon down. Like, I think the Chiefs' main emphasis going into this game is they're going to try to make Hurts beat them passing.
Mhm.
They're going to probably stack the box, do what they've done all year, send pressure. Uh, they like to blitz a lot. They run man coverage. They're going to try that. That's what my guess is. I think they're going to limit the gains Saquon gets. He's not going to get 60-yard plays like he has been all postseason. But the problem is if they make Hurts pass, I think he probably played the best game of his career in the Super Bowl against them 2 years ago. So he's proven, and he in 2021 too, the first Hurts mid Holmes matchup. Hurts had a really good passing game too. Now the Chiefs defense was awful at the start of that year, so that's a big reason why. And Philly also beat them last year in Kansas City, and I don't think they played a great game. I think they got a bit lucky, but they still won that game. Um, yeah, I don't even know what I'm saying here. I'm just ranting.
No, it's good. It's good. Yeah.
But yeah, my point is, like you said, man coverage. Chiefs run a lot of it. They blitz a lot. Problem is, it's going to leave. Maybe it's okay to do that against a team without elite receivers. But against a team with AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, who you sent me the other day, has like the most yards per game receiving against the Chiefs
Yeah.
like in history. And Dallas Goedert, and then Saquon. They use him in the receiving game a decent amount too. So
Mhm.
when you have all those weapons, leaving them one on one, the Eagles are really good against the blitz. Their offensive line is top tier. Looks like all their guys are going to be good to go. So maybe they're going to change some things up defensively. But again, on paper, Philly should win the game.
Mhm.
That's basically what I'm trying to say.
You just hope so, yeah. The Chiefs obviously, uh, trying to stop Saquon is probably going to be the hardest thing for them this game, but they're going to definitely key in on it because, I mean, if Jalen Hurts doesn't even throw a pass and we're beating you by, you know, uh, the Chiefs have been allowing 140 plus yards to running backs, 80 plus yards to their RB1s. I think James Cook had 80 something. I think. Um, who was the other one? It was James Cook and
Oh, Mixon.
Mixon. Yep. I think both 80 plus yards. And it just seems like if everything's healthy in our offensive line, I know Landon Dickerson was dealing with an injury. I know um Cam Jurgens was dealing with an injury. I think if somehow we're not 100% healthy after the long week, Chris Jones could potentially have a big day against Tyler Steen if one of them was going to go out. I think our two offensive tackles are kind of dominant. I don't know if George Karlaftis is even going to get a pressure on Lane Johnson or Jordan Mailata. Those two have been absolute beasts this whole season. Um, yeah, I just feel like I just don't know. It feels like there's no way that the Chiefs could win, but the Chiefs just always seem to find a way to be right there at the end of games. So
Yeah. I
just
mean,
never know.
yeah, I keep saying, Philly should win the game, but you can't count out the Chiefs. I mean, obviously the Chiefs are an elite team, but again, I don't mean to take credit away, but I think they're also having, as I mentioned earlier, the single luckiest season in the history of sports. So I'm sure they'll get some lucky fluke plays to bounce their way. One thing I'm going to be interested in is how this game is officiated because the NFL is not stupid. It hears all the noise about how
Mm-hmm.
everyone is saying it's rigged. The Chiefs get every call. I mean, the officiating crew just had to release a statement the other day saying it wasn't rigged.
It's,
I've never seen that in my entire life. And like as a Patriots fan, of course we got some beneficial calls along the way when we had Bill and Brady here for 20 years, but it was not to the extent of all the every 50-50 call Chiefs get it. Every questionable call, the Chiefs benefit from it. It seems like every game they get at least one. So it
mm-hmm.
was not, and everyone is far like the volume and the amount of people that are all over the Chiefs and refs thing is far worse than it was with my team.
Yeah.
So it's good to see that as a Patriots man. And so yeah, I don't know how the game's gonna get officiated. Obviously, 2 years ago, uh, the Chiefs won at the end of the game in large part due to the holding call with Bradbury, which yes, from the rule book, it was a holding call, but the way the Super Bowl is supposed to be called is you're supposed to let guys play, and you're not supposed to call a penalty unless it's like something egregious.
Yeah.
They should have let that go, I think. It was such a minor penalty, they should have let it go, but because it's the Chiefs and it would benefit them, they threw the flag.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, you can't count the Chiefs out. Like I said, I think their coaching is better. Um, I keep talking about, hyping up the Fangio defense. Even though on paper it should have a lot of success against this Chiefs offense, I could see the Chiefs offense kind of not going off, but having a good game. But like at the same time, I think this Philly defense is a lot better than the Buffalo defense. And the Chiefs defense or the Chiefs offense against the Bills, it feels like it couldn't be stopped. And they put up what 32. That was the first time all year they put up 30 plus. So you figure the way how efficiently they were moving the ball would be like a 40-point game, but they only
Yeah.
scored 32 is a lot. But I'm going on a rant here. I had an initial point in my head to talk about. Now I blanked on it.
No, it's okay. Let it come to you.
But yeah,
Yeah, I think for the Eagles, obviously the number one passing defense. And if the Chiefs are going to want to win this game, Mahomes is going to have to do his, he's going to have to keep plays alive. He's going to have to do kind of those, like running around the pocket, like finding somebody wide open in like a scramble drill. Kelsey obviously is really good at that, yards after the catch and everything. Like I said, it's probably going to be a lot of Kelsey and Cooper DeJean, but for the Eagles, it's going to be Dallas Goddard, who's actually our leading receiver in the playoffs since coming back. He's been heavily incorporated into the offense. He's like running jet sweeps, like he's got 99 speed. It's ridiculous. And he's going to be going against, I think, Jamari Connors, their slot corner. I think he has the most tackles on the Chiefs this postseason. So that should be another good matchup. But yeah, there's a lot of pieces for the Eagles that can just take over this game. So we'll see.
yeah, I remembered my talking point. Well, first of all, before I forget, Kelsey, I am petrified he's going to have a big game because he at least receiving wise did nothing against the Bills. He had 2 catches for 19 yards and still feels the need to taunt and then not get a flag, but he gets fined for it. but because it's the Chiefs and it would have hurt them, they're not going to throw a flag for it. The Eagles have been giving up. I think you mentioned it earlier. They've been giving up a good amount of production to tight ends. Kelsey in the Super Bowl, they're going to try to, I'm sure, force the ball to them so they can pan to Taylor Swift 400 times, which no one cares about. God help us all. So I'm kind of nervous. Kelsey's going to have a big game. But on the other end, the Chiefs have been giving up a good amount of production to tight ends. So Goddard, and you just mentioned that he's their top receiver since he came back. So I think he could have a big game too. He had a couple clutch catches in the Super Bowl 2 years ago, and I think he's just gotten better, honestly. But Jonathan Gannon was the DC 2 years ago, and obviously they lost the game, and he was also the DC the year before when they lost the regular season game. The regular season game in 2021, I think the Chiefs scored a touchdown on literally every drive except like one or two. The Super Bowl, the second half, they scored a touchdown every single drive except one where they played the clock game after that BS holding penalty
Mm-hmm.
and kicked a field goal. So that's a positive for the Eagles is their defense could not stop the Chiefs for the life of them, and they were still right there at the end of the game. I think the defense is certainly going to play better, at least on paper, should play a lot better than it did in those previous two matchups. I mean, their defense held them to 17 in the regular season matchup, and they won. So for me, the key for the Eagles to win the game, and it's probably going to sound like a duh, obviously statement. If they can put up a good amount of points, like I think if they score 27, I think I feel comfortable saying they're going to win the Super Bowl because with how well Philly's defense is playing and how subpar the Chiefs' offense is playing, I just feel strongly that Kansas City, I think they'll probably, I don't know, probably score around like 20-ish in this game, like lower 20s. I think like at most like 26 is kind of what I'm feeling.
Yep.
So if Philly can put up like 27 or more, obviously, the more the better. I feel pretty comfortable saying they're going to win the Super Bowl. And obviously Saquon wasn't there 2 years ago. Obviously he is a major factor. He's
Game wrecker.
yeah, you know, he setting records. He's a finalist for MVP. He completely changed their offense for the better. They were a run heavy offense 2 years ago, but now it's, I mean, I think I mentioned earlier, they're dead last in the league in pass attempts,
Mm-hmm.
but they're 14-3. They're in the Super Bowl. So yeah, Eagles just have a lot of versatility in ways they can win the game. They should win the game, but it's the Chiefs. It's like, are you really going to bet against the Chiefs in the Super Bowl?
Yeah.
Especially with the referees on their side. Taylor Swift in the stands. God help us all. But yeah, Philly. God, I hate. Actually, do I still have it on my desk here? Yep, I have my 2 week Eagles fan
Yep.
contract.
Signed
Uh,
and everything.
yep, signed. Yep, submitted it to the courts, laminated. It's official. Hate the Eagles, but have to root for them. Just anyone but the Chiefs. Please God. Please God.
And I mean, maybe a interesting thing to point out, the last team that was about to three-peat actually faced the Eagles in the Super Bowl, and you know how that one went. So maybe
Well,
it's our DNA to stop these
well,
three.
actually, we were going for the repeat that year. The year after we won the Super Bowl, but if Bill Belichick for whatever reason didn't bench our starting corner that played 98% of the snaps that year, and his replacement Eric Rowe allowed over 200 yards and a touchdown to Alshon Jeffrey,
Yep.
that might be, I think, it would have won the game. Or if Bill Belichick didn't let Nick Foles score 41 points on his defense, while Tom Brady set a playoff record 505 passing yards against the fourth-ranked Eagles defense, with Brandon Cooks getting concussed at the start of the second quarter. But that's okay because Bill made up for it the next year against the
Exactly.
Rams.
Exactly. We got ours. You guys got yours.
Yeah, but oh God, like just everything we're talking about, I feel good about the Eagles. The Chiefs are favored. I'm a little surprised they're favored,
Mhm.
but I'm not at the same time because it's the Chiefs. Just like matchup wise, and if you write down everything like on paper, there's not much that suggests the Chiefs should win the game. It's just because they're the Chiefs. They're going for the three-peat. Obviously, they're like the most playoff experienced team. They
Mhm.
beat the Eagles 2 years ago in the Super Bowl. Uh, you know, Andy Reid. Even if people think Sirianni's a good coach, I think everyone can agree Andy Reid is miles ahead of Nick
Yeah.
Sirianni. Um, and that Chiefs defense could win them the game.
Mhm.
I think the
Number
Chiefs
one tackling
defense,
defense, I think the Chiefs
yeah,
defense this year.
I think the Chiefs defense, if the Chiefs win the game, I think it's going to be, I think Philly's offense is going to have a decent game, well, a good game regardless. I think Philly, regardless if they lose or win, I think they'll at least score somewhere in the lower 20s. But I don't think the Chiefs offense is going to play, or their defense is going to play a great game, but I think it will have a couple spots where it forces some punts. Uh, it plays the Philly offense better than some teams have. And if any team's going to stop the tush push, I'm sure Steve Spagnuolo somehow dropped some game plan to stop it. Although 2 years ago it worked against them, and it seems like it's just gotten better than 2 years ago. But yeah, I
I
just
know.
pray to God the Chiefs do not win.
I think Josh Allen tried what two tush pushes or whatever they call it in
I
Buffalo, and
yeah.
they stopped him both
Well, see,
times.
that's the concern I had with that game is the Bills coaching. I mean, the Chiefs offensively were in the same play multiple times. It was worked every time. If that happens, Philly will be adjusting to it, unlike the Bills.
Mm,
And the problem with the sneak was, which by the way, Josh Allen clearly got the first down, so it shouldn't even be a conversation. But because it's the Chiefs, oh, short touchdown Chiefs. Um, Tony Romo and Jim Nantz talked about in the broadcast. Allen went to the left side every time. The Chiefs just put their all their guys like their
yeah.
big guys like Chris Jones, everyone like that on the left side. If the Bills had simply switched the sneak side to have Josh Allen sneak to the right, one of the Chiefs DBs, I forget who it was, literally came out and said, "Oh, they just switched it. We basically sold out on the left. We probably would have, not been
Yeah.
prepared for it." Stuff like that. Like, let's say the Chiefs stop the tush push, the Eagles will adjust to it, see why they stopped it, and then counter it. They're not just going to do the same thing over and over like the Bills did.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, I think uh, I think Philly. I actually feel decent about Philly winning the game. I'm not. I'm gonna wait to make my full on prediction video. I'll upload later today. I'm gonna take some more notes and stuff, but as of now, I think I'm gonna say Philly. God. I'll say 27-23.
Okay.
I think the score, I could see that score being flipped too. I think both teams are going to score in the 20s, regardless of which one wins. I think both
Yeah.
teams are going to score in the 20s this game. But I'll say Philly 27, Obnoxious City 23.
Okay. I'm gonna take Philadelphia. Obviously, give me Philly 33, Chiefs 28. It's gonna be my score prediction.
Yeah, this is see, I can see this game playing out in so many different ways. I can see Saquon going off. I can see Saquon having kind of a like an average game because the Chiefs just sell out to stop me, not sell out, but emphasize stopping it. I could see Hurts going berserk. I could see, even though I keep shitting on the Chiefs offense, I could see the Chiefs offense having a good game.
Mm.
I could see a bunch of different scenarios for this game. I just pray that Oh God, I just pray to God that the Chiefs do not win. I'm gonna be like locked in an insane asylum if the Chiefs three-peat, and we'll have to endure the ridiculous GOAT debate with Mid Holmes and
Uh,
Brady. Oh God, help! And then the absolute nightmare scenario would be, and it almost happened last year, if like the game is tied and the Chiefs are trailing late, they need a touchdown. Travis Kelce gets the game-winning touchdown with like no time left. That would be literally the worst scenario possible. And then they pan to Taylor. Oh God, I'm gonna like throw up just thinking about it.
Yeah. Um, you know, that donut I sent you, I don't know if you can put the picture in the video somehow, but
Yeah, I'll
the
see if I
ref
can.
kissing Mahomes. Yeah,
Yeah,
I like you said earlier, I hope they just let him play because this is the Super Bowl. We don't want to see flags on every play, just walking them
yeah.
down the
Well,
field.
2 years ago, I think when people started to say the refs are favoring the Chiefs, it really started to happen. I feel like 2020-ish, like 2021. So it wasn't as egregious 2 years ago when they got that holding call against Bradbury on Juju. But now that like everyone, that's all anyone talks about, all the meme pages, you can't go on any Chiefs related thing without seeing like, oh, the refs won the game or something like that.
Mm.
So my guess is they're going to be more lenient, but I'm actually going to knock on wood because I probably just jinxed it and they're probably going to win off some bullshit call, I'm sure. All right, let me see if I can pull this donut thing up. Um, oh, yeah, here we go. You probably can't see it with my shitty Zoom camera,
No,
but
yeah,
it's
you can see it.
okay, perfect. Yeah, we're gonna have to eat one of those donuts tomorrow to celebrate the Super
Yep,
Bowl.
exactly.
I yesterday to work I wore my Tom Brady jersey to honor the true greatest man to walk the planet. Today I'll be wearing my Drake May jersey to honor the baby goat. Mac Jones had that title for a while, but it's been revoked, unfortunately. Um, but yeah, any
Yeah.
parting thoughts?
Um, I think one thing I didn't touch on was the front four for Philly. Obviously, uh, they don't blitz a lot. It seems like if they do blitz, it'll probably be like a linebacker, Zach Bond up the middle or something. But Nolan Smith, 4 sacks, 4 tackle for losses in the playoffs. Jalen Carter, who's been an absolute monster, one of the best defensive tackles in the league. Um, I think Brandon Graham has a chance to come back and play tomorrow. Obviously, he got hurt early in the year, but he's a legend in Philly, and those guys are going to get going if he's able to suit up and play. So I think I think they're going to have a big day. I don't know.
Yeah, their pass rush. I mean, the Chiefs' offensive line since they moved Tooney over, um, they've been a lot better. But Tooney's been like my old guy from the Patriots. That's the one player on the Chiefs I like, Joe
Yeah,
Tooney. Uh, which by the way, if he wins this will be his fifth Super Bowl for Christ's sake. He's approaching Tom Brady's record. My God. But yeah, I think their pass rush could be an X factor in the game. Chiefs' offensive line has not been great. Um, even though, I just mentioned they moved Tooney over, they've been a lot better. But Philly's pass rush, another breed. Chiefs have not seen a defense like the level of the
hmm
Eagles. And again, what's making me feel good about Philly winning. 2 years ago, their defense could not stop the Chiefs to save their lives. They still Hurts would have had a minute and a half, minute 50, whatever, to potentially go down, win the game down three. And their defense could not stop a nosebleed that game, especially in the second half. Their defense, I feel, is in a lot better position to do so now because A, it's better. I think it's far better coached. And B, the Chiefs' offense is significantly worse than it was 2 years ago. And then Philly's offense, it could go off, but I think at minimum they'll be scoring in like the lower 20. Even if they score in the lower 20s, I think they'll have a decent chance. But I think around 27, I feel comfortable with that number. But yeah, God, let's just
go
everyone
Birds.
we're gonna pray that the Eagles can win here. God help us all. God, if the Chiefs win.
Jalen Hurts, if you're listening, Jalen Hurts,
And
please.
I don't want to disregard the Chiefs. Like I keep saying Philly should win, but like the Chiefs very well could win the game. Honestly, I kind of I was tempted to pick them because not because I think they're the better team, but because they're the Chiefs. Am I really going to go against the Chiefs in the Super Bowl again? Um, and I don't know. Like I said, whoever won between Philly and Washington, I would probably pick the Chiefs to win. But I'm like, the more I think about it, I'm like, if now and then I'm thankful the Eagles won that game. Because if it was Washington,
Yeah,
unfortunately, I think
they'd
the
be in
Chiefs would
trouble.
certainly
Yeah.
be winning the Super Bowl. So thank God Philly won.
Yep.
Um,
I think my last parting point is it took the Avengers 2 times to beat Thanos.
yeah,
So
Yeah, but Thanos didn't
it's
have the
destiny.
refs and Goodell and Taylor Swift on his side either.
And it's Saquon's birthday tomorrow. So you already know
Yeah,
he's having a big day.
yeah. Now, I will say though, and I'm gonna knock on wood here. Saquon, his cat, I'm sure he's fine now, but his he even played after, like still went off after, but his calf seemed to be like a little bit tight, a little bit sore during that Washington game. Knowing the Chiefs, I would not at all be surprised if Saquon his calf gets hurt or something like that in the game. And knowing the Chiefs, I just can envision it now, but I'm gonna knock on wood that
Yep.
that does not happen, but they're the lucky city chiefs, the obnoxious city chiefs, whatever you want to call them. God help us all. But yep. Let's just pray the Eagles win.
Mm-hmm.
We'll end the video here. Thank you, Nick, for subbing in for Dylan. You're
Of
always
course.
welcome on the podcast here. Hopefully, next time you join, we'll be celebrating a Philly Super Bowl win and not crying over a Chiefs win. But yeah, we'll end the video here. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you're betting on the Super Bowl, I put on just I'm like, God, at this point, fuck it. It's the last game. I'm just gonna throw everything I have on the Super Bowl. Good luck. If you're a Chiefs fan, no offense. Wish you the worst of luck. If you're a Philly fan, my contract runs through Monday to be an Eagles fan. So fly, Eagles, fly.
Let's
Bird
go.
Nation, let's go. All right, come on, Eagles. Please save us all. All right, thanks for tuning in, guys. Take it easy.